A very strong solar flare has just occurred directly pointed at the Earth. Take a look at the center of your screen. That bright blue, now almost white dot, that explosion on the surface of the sun is directly aimed at the Earth and actually has caused some warnings and watches out for aurora and northern lights and generally some disruption. But first, starting out with tomorrow's night's aurora forecast. This is Labor Day, September 1st, and you can see we have that red area that is where the aurora will be right overhead, and we have green areas stretching downward into some areas like northern Iowa, northern Nebraska. But if this storm gets strong enough, we actually could see it as far south as the Midwest region and the northern West Coast. So generally speaking, a couple of ingredients you need to see this aurora and the current outlook of it is you need dark skies, give you an advantage, but then you also need to keep an eye out. You need some luck. So it's not going to be only a storm, a full-on storm all the night. It's going to be a wave of action. It comes in waves. That's going to happen here. And so we're going to talk about how exactly we know this aurora is possibly coming, and things you need to know and tips you need to have to see the aurora and give you guys the best chance of seeing it. So generally speaking, yeah, this is going to be tomorrow night's aurora forecast. Still a little bit subject to change, but first starting off with that sun video again. You can look at that explosion, the very bright spot directly pointing at the Earth, and the way we know it's directly pointing at the Earth is by looking at this corona graph. Here you can see from this video over time, you can see how there is disruption around the center. That center is actually the sun, and we have a sensor that looks around the sun. When you have disruption all around, which is called a circular CME, that means the CME, or the coronal mass ejection, is pointed directly at you, the Earth. So we saw this last night, and it actually takes 2 to 3 days for this to reach the Earth. Starting off with this video here, this is also by the Space Weather Prediction Center of the National Weather Service. You can see that right pulse coming from the sun. The sun's like white spot. We are the yellow spot, and that bright pulse that shoots off, we'll get a little bit closer view here, comes over the next few hours and eventually makes impact with Earth there. And that impact is what we'll be keeping a very close eye on. Now looking a little bit closer up range, you can see that really long band. That is what we're going to be keeping an eye on for actual impacts of the CME. That's what will cause our actual aurora. And now looking at one more time, you may notice there is a predecessor event before that main event. There's a tiny little disruption, which actually might clear the way and give some impact. So the coronal mass ejection was actually not that strong by our terms of standardization, but the big thing was how long it lasted. It lasted over 3 hours, which is a very long time for this type of event. And because we had prolonged strength, we actually have this watch out. So Geomagnetic Storm Watch by the Weather Prediction Center. Let's go over this step by step. The event is a coronal mass ejection, which we've been talking about. It's an eruption of solar material and magnetic field making its way to Earth. And it can actually impact the magnetic sphere, there we go. And the CME is anticipated to reach and impact Earth with elevated geomagnetic response and, dependent upon orientation, embedded magnetic field. Potential exists for strong storm levels. So there is something else that's called the position of the field, how it can move. It can really make a difference between not seeing the lights and seeing the lights. That's another thing. That's more of an hour-by-hour basis when we're actually seeing the event to make more details on, and the actual effects is limited minor effects to technical infrastructure possible, but usually mitigable. So people have these advanced warning for people with very sensitive instruments, and generally speaking, just gonna be a good light show for most of the people if we get some luck. And speaking of luck, something that can really help you out is no cloud cover. So aurora is in the way upper area of the atmosphere. It's nowhere near the surface. So you have the surface, you have the cloud layer, and then you have the aurora up here. To make it possible to see up there, we need no clouds, and this is a general cloud map looking at it. I have to say it's a pretty good cloud map for most of the United States. Main area I have to say is the western portions of the Midwest might see some spotty clouds, but generally speaking, a lot of people are going to be in the clear, and hopefully these clouds do move. If there are clouds, you may have later in the night. Again, this will be Monday night, so you may have it later in the night where you can see it or not, but definitely stay tuned for the cloud updates as we get a little bit closer. As you might be seeing something like this. This was actually in Pennsylvania last fall, And I don't think it's going to be this strong of an event, but man, if you guys have any opportunity to go out tomorrow and just keep a close eye, stay on rainy day weather for more updates, you guys could possibly see something like this just in your backyard. I mean, it's such an amazing experience. This is actually my own photo I took out in Pennsylvania, and I really hope I get to see it again. I will be live during this event if it does do so impact Earth in any specific significant way. And if it does, we will be trying to show you guys the colors together. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments below. I hope to see you out there watching this aurora coming towards us.